As the DXY pulls back, we have to consider the monthly time frame, which I'll show you guys here in a minute. Our members had a great trading week this past week, lots of great profitable trades. With that being said, let's get right into this week's Forex forecast. So looking at the weekly time frame here, you can see we have that weekly zone in control, although it is very obvious that we have seen a couple down weeks in the DXY. But remember, looking at this monthly time frame here, you can see not only do we have a downward channel on the monthly chart, we are at the lower end of that channel, and we're also reacting off of the monthly demand zone. So that's why I have been bullish on the dollar as we come back into this weekly demand that was located inside of the overall monthly demand that I was just showing you guys. So I am still somewhat bullish on the US dollar based off of the fact that we have that monthly demand in control. If we look at a daily time frame here, we clearly have bottomed out here with this wick. I didn't really, put too much weight on this demand zone down here. It's already been reacted off of, so nothing really that I would be too concerned about. But clearly, we are starting to go to the upside the last couple of days here on the DXY. If you look at a 1 hour time frame, you can clearly see not only do we break a 1 hour downward trend line, that's a bullish sign on its own, right? So as soon as we break the 1 hour downward trend line, to me, that's definitely a bullish sign. That to me, that shows me, hey, we could be seeing, some dollar strength here, and we did get just that. More importantly, we created a blatant peak and valley here, which has given us a beautiful upward trend line here on the 1 hour time frame. However, if you look at it as a channel, which is a great tool I've been using a lot lately, actually, we're kind of at, we're sitting right in the middle of this channel. I think we still have more room to the upside to go up. And I think that if we do continue to go up, the next thing we'll have to get by is this 1 hour supply at 98.93. It's a very good supply zone. The basing is good. The move away is fantastic. So in my opinion, if we do hit the zone, I'm expecting to see some dollar weakness. So I actually think we could be pulling up to that supply and then maybe seeing a down move in the dollar. And then again, since the monthly demand is in control down here, we actually could break to the upside. So I'm not really predicting that. It's just kind of an option. I always go with the higher time frames. If the monthly demand is in control on the dollar, to me, that takes effect over any time frame that's lower than that. So that's why I am kind of expecting to see that move, but doesn't mean we won't hesitate off of this 1 hour area of supply first as we potentially push up. On the 4 hour time frame, we have a very interesting chart here as well, as this 4 hour downward trend line is currently peaking above it. It's not removed yet. Unfortunately, it won't be removed until next week. We have to see if we can get a candle close above, but right now it is looking weak. I will say that it is looking very strong, rather weak as in breaking the trend line. You guys know what I mean. So it is looking pretty strong. Again, even if we do break above the trend line, we have that 1 hour supply that I was just referring to that could hold up price potentially. So a little bit of a tricky time right now. Hopefully that monthly chart really showed you guys what I'm referring to with the bottom end of that channel, the monthly demand in control. To me, that's a positive sign that we could be pushing up on the DXY even further. And really quickly, going back to the weekly time frame, it's possible that we do just retrace all the way up to this weekly supply and then see that big move on the dollar. So that could be the move that we see. But in the meantime, we could just push up to that weekly supply, and we'll have to be monitoring, again, the 1 hour chart, the 4 hour time frame to see what's really taking place. And by the way, guys, this will be the last weekly Forex forecast of the year, most likely, unless we get some crazy moves over the holidays. So I hope you guys have enjoyed all the forecasts this year, and I appreciate every single one of you. All right, moving on to the forecast for the Euro US dollar. I was telling the members we had an older daily supply from way back then at 117. If you notice, we barely hit this zone and we reacted off of it. So I was telling the members it's definitely possible we break above where we recently tested it and react to the downside, and we actually got just that. The question is, how big of a move to the downside are we going to get? That is the big question. If we do see a move all the way down to this daily demand, I think it's a great opportunity to look for day trade longs and swing trading longs as well. We have a support area here as well. I'd like to see another reaction off of it. To me, that gives me liquidity. I don't trade support and resistance. I trade supply and demand, and that is our daily demand zone. So if we do pull back to this support area, I want to see another reaction off of it. Then to me, that's really going to show that there's stop losses under here, and this daily demand will be a fantastic area to look for longs. As well as on the daily chart, if we push up and we break this daily supply any daily demand there is going to be a fantastic opportunity for a potential swing trade to push to break above those highs. So that's what I will be watching over the next year or over the next couple weeks and into the new year on this daily time frame. To me, that will be a very strong area of demand since this supply has been tested once and twice now. So to me, it's proving there's supply up there. So any daily demand that removes that is going to be pretty strong, in my opinion. So as far as trading the euro goes, how do we go about and trade it right now? It is a little bit tricky because not only do we have a 4-hour trend line to the upside, we have a 1-hour trend line to the downside. So it is tricky. Ultimately, the 4-hour trend line does take more preference over the 1-hour trend line, so we could expect to see the euro continue to go up. So I will say this, if you are bullish on the euro, all we need to be doing is watching this 4-hour trend line. As long as this trend line is holding, 15-minute time frame longs are going to be good. And channel view, I mean, I'm sure it's very obvious, but just to show you guys, you can see we are clearly at a good spot to be doing that as well. Not only are we near the trend line, we're at below the 50% mark, but halfway through the channel there. So it's a decent time to actually continue to look for longs, especially on a 15-minute chart. I think that's completely reasonable. If you are bearish, you think, Kevin, no way we're going to go down, no way we're going to go up here. The euro is going to continue to fall. I think that's a reasonable prediction. Again, based off of the fact that we have a 1-hour downward trend line here. So if you look at this as a channel, we're at a great point to continue to look for shorts, but on a 5-minute time frame, I think that's completely reasonable. And one reason I actually like the potential shorts is maybe the euro is bullish. Maybe, you know, the idea is we will be pushing up to and breaking that high. But what we could be seeing first is a pullback down to this demand zone at 116 first, and then getting that reaction to the upside. That is definitely possible. So I think if you want to trade short on a 5-minute chart with profit margin down to this 1-hour demand zone, I think that's a fantastic trading opportunity. Really, it's like, I like when we have a very clear trend line with very clear profit margin and a very clear place to take profit. So that is why I think this is a great demand zone potential pullback entry on the euro US dollar. And look, if you, let's say you are bullish, you don't want to trade short, that's completely reasonable. Another thing we could be doing is waiting for this 1-hour trend line to be removed. Any 1-hour demand zone there is going to be a nice trading opportunity as well. So that's what I'll be watching here on the euro US dollar. All right, moving on to the forecast for gold. Weekly chart here shows we got that pivot point down here. We are sitting right at the highs, so kind of makes me nervous about getting in long. But what we have going for us is a beautiful weekly trend to the upside. So it's kind of hard to trade counter trend on gold, especially when the trends are looking that strong. On the daily time frame, you can see daily supplies and control. I was telling you guys last week, I believe, or a couple weeks ago, I didn't put too much weight on it after we kind of almost got a reaction off of it. And I mean, we did get kind of a semi-small reaction, but ultimately I think we will be breaking it. And why? It's not rocket science. It's nothing crazy. It is literally just the fact that we have a weekly trend and macro trends to the upside, which is why I never really put too much weight on this daily supply anyways. So if we break this daily supply, hopefully we have a great daily demand to get in long at or look for longs in on gold here. So it is still bullish, although the daily supply is in control. I personally think we will be breaking that daily area of supply. As far as trading gold goes now, you can see on this 1-hour time frame, we had this 1-hour supply zone right here. And we got not only one, pretty much 2, 3 reactions off of this 1-hour supply. And this supply was called out in last week's weekly Forex forecast here on YouTube. So in my opinion, that's a fantastic reason to hit that like button and subscribe if you're new to the channel so you can get free setups like that, especially on gold. So hit that like button, subscribe, would much appreciate it. As far as trading gold goes now, we removed this supply. And when we did that, we created a 1-hour demand down below at 42.84, and we created a nice 1-hour trend line. And this trend line has been beautifully respected here. So in my opinion, this trend line is in control. As long as this trend line's holding, 5-minute time frame longs are good. Although I will admit that this makes me nervous about the trend line holding again. So if we do, again, so 5-minute time frame longs are good as long as the trend line's holding. However, if we do break this trend line, I would basically hold off on longs from here to here. I would hold off on longs, wait for this 1-hour demand to be hit, and that would be our nearest long entry down at 42.84. Let's say we get a deeper pullback on gold, we break the trend line, we break this demand zone, we take a loss. That's fine. I'm actually hoping that takes place. Why would I hope that? Well, it's very simple. If you look at a 4-hour time frame, we have a very good 4-hour demand zone down below at 42.26. So this would be our ultimate pullback. I don't want to say ultimate, but it's a pretty good pullback at 42.26. A lot of trading in this area though, so I think a wider stop loss could be very reasonable, especially since we could push to all-time highs, and profit margin is really endless in my opinion on gold long term. I like the location of this zone. I would like to see, this all-time high removed as well. That to me would really signal strength and put even more weight on that 4-hour zone. But I like that it removed this 4-hour supply from back here that we got many reactions off of. And if you go back and check the past weekly forecast, I called out this 4-hour supply before it happened as well. You guys can go confirm that by watching some of my older forecasts. So if we do get that deeper pullback on gold, that is our entry at 42.26. You can have a tight stop loss. You can have a wide stop loss there. I think it's reasonable. We have nice trends to the upside on the higher time frames. So I am bullish on gold here, guys. We just got to simply wait for the pullbacks, or if you're a day trader, we have nice trend lines on the 1-hour chart to be guiding us for longs. All right, on to the forecast for the S&P 500. In my opinion, we are overextended. I don't love to just say we're overextended because that really implies, oh, we're due for a pullback. And I hate to say we are due for a pullback. However, when we look at a monthly chart of the S&P 500, what do you notice? We are at the top end of that channel here. So we could expect possibly a peak above the channel, but essentially, based off of this channel tool, we are due for a pullback. The big question is, how big of a pullback are we going to get? Are we going to get a pullback all the way down to this weekly demand? Who knows? I think it'd be a great swing trading opportunity down here, and I personally welcome a pullback down there. I personally don't really mind. If you look at a daily chart here, rather, you can see we failed to break this high, and to me, that's kind of a bearish sign. We did remove supply, but we failed to break that all-time high. Even if we do, fake outs are possible because we know everybody's going to have their stop losses above here. So even if, the next couple weeks into the new year, we do break above this supply, we have to be mindful of potential fake outs, which means any candle close above it, we'll have to watch if that breaks. And if that does break, to me, we are really just going to continue to go up. So hopefully that macro monthly chart really puts things into perspective here on the S&P. As far as the 4-hour chart goes, pretty interesting chart here. We did remove some 4-hour supply here with this 4-hour demand. I think if you want to get in long at this 4-hour demand, it's really not my favorite zone. Confirmation on day trading timeframes in there could be good, and I'd probably be a little bit aggressive with trade management based on the fact that it's really not a great zone. The better zone is actually sitting down below on the 4-hour chart. I personally thought this zone could be really the zone that fuels price to push back and break the all-time highs. But ever since looking at that monthly channel, I'm starting to question that if I'm being honest. So if we do get a pullback down to that 4-hour zone, I think it's a good opportunity to look for longs, but I'd probably be semi-aggressive with trade management, as in, I would give a little bit of breathing room, but I don't mind putting stops to break even after getting like a 1-to-1, 2-to-1 move. So that would be our best pullback entry I'm seeing at 66.48 on the S&P 500. And look, if we break to the all-time highs, okay, then we could start to day trade long again. But for now, I would just wait for these 4-hour zones to be hit and look for longs in there. On the 1-hour chart, you can see what took place here. We had a 1-hour downward trend line, and the downward trend line was connected from here to here. This was a reaction off of our trend line and another reaction off of our trend line. And that left us with a pretty good demand zone at 6,800. Gold had a great day, and it all started from this area of demand. Beautiful, explosive move away. So, and we actually have a trend line I didn't notice. So let me go ahead and draw that right now. So I take back what I said earlier. I didn't notice this trend line. We actually have a nice trend line for potential longs here. So what I mean by that is, as long as this trend line's holding, I think day trading longs are fine on a 5-minute time frame. Channel view shows we're sitting right above that 50% mark, so I'd rather be doing it somewhere in here. I think that makes more sense. And look, if you take a loss, that's fine, because we have a 1-hour demand sitting down below that we could see a move off of. But again, since we are at the top end of that monthly channel, it's kind of making me a little bit nervous about really getting a huge move. So I think semi-aggressive trade management at a zone like this could be good. So after like a 1-to-1, 2-to-1 move, might be good to move your stop to half risk or take a little bit of profit off and let the rest of the trade play out. I think that's reasonable. So nice trend line here. Definitely a bullish sign. This trend line is going to be our guide for day trading longs at this point. Like I said, I pointed out those 2 4-hour zones and this 1-hour zone on the S&P 500 as well for potential long opportunities. Alrighty, on to the forecast for the USDJPY. You can see this purple box here. This is not supply. This is resistance, and I view this as liquidity. I think there will be most likely stop losses up here that will be targeted if we do continue to go up. And I mean, based off of that bullish candle here on the weekly time frame, it's looking bullish. There's nothing really more I can say. On the daily chart here, we didn't quite remove this high just yet. But to me, that is definitely something we will be monitoring. If we remove that high, that'll give us a very good daily trend line to attach from the bottom to this pivot point here. And to me, that signals strength. A trend line is really what signals strength, in my opinion. We have a very proven area of supply up here that I'm not interested in trading short at. Let me be very clear. But this is what I'll be monitoring. If we can remove it, any daily demand there is going to be a nice trading setup on the USDJPY. So it looks like we want to push up and break that all-time high. I wouldn't be surprised, right? Because we have liquidity above. I think that's what we could be targeting. On the 4-hour chart here, we did create a new high. And on the 1-hour time frame here, I don't know if anybody remembers, but we caught a beautiful zone trade from this 1-hour zone down there. Great trade. But look at this 1-hour trend line. It's very strong, right? It's looking very, very strong. But we are so overextended here. We are not only do we push above the channel, like we're way above the trend line here. So I almost want to remove the trend line. I'm going to leave it for now, but you can see we are clearly very overextended. So to get in long now would make me very, very nervous. I'd rather be waiting to push back into this channel to then continue to look for longs on a 5-minute chart. So as far as the yen goes right now, I'm really not seeing any good setups. The setups happened a couple weeks ago when we got nice trades off of this zone right here. So those trades have already played out at this point. On the USDJPY, this is a great chart to look at when we got to be patient. So this chart really to me screams be patient, wait for a nice pullback. Hopefully we can remove that high in the daily chart, get a clean pullback to get within that channel again, and then we can continue to get in long. So as far as the USDJPY goes right now, I really don't see any good supply or demand zones for trading. We just need to be patient and wait for some pullbacks to trade within that channel again on the day trading timeframes. All right, on to the forecast for the GBPUSD. There's really nothing to go off of on the weekly or the daily chart. No trend. I mean, the weekly trend is there, but I don't want to say it's irrelevant because this sequence of time here, the trend line's kind of down there. On the daily chart, really no fresh zones, no trends. There's really not a lot going on. Sometimes when there's not a lot going on, you just got to learn how to be patient, guys. I cannot stress that enough. And if you need help with being patient, check out my podcast, the Stoic Trading Psychology Podcast. It's available anywhere you get your podcast, as well as my YouTube channel on the Stoic Trading Psychology Podcast. So check it out. Just did a new episode the other day, and let me know what you guys think. As far as the 4-hour chart goes here on the pound, we had a 4-hour supply zone I was pointing out to the members. We did get a move off of the zone, but I was telling them aggressive trade management here would be better. So at this point, if you are short from the zone, I would at least have my stop at break even because, again, since I showed you the daily and the weekly chart, there's really no clear direction of where price is going, in my opinion. So that's why I would have my stop at break even at this point. I probably would even take a little bit of profit off because profit is profit. I would rather be taking some profit off, putting my stop to break even, and just seeing if we can get a bigger move to the downside, and that would just be a bonus. If we do push up and break this 4-hour supply, since it's a very proven supply zone, any 4-hour demand zone there is going to be a nice trading setup. So that's what I'll be watching out for on the 4-hour chart to get in long if we do remove that 4-hour area of supply. When we hit that 4-hour supply, what do you notice? We did create a 1-hour supply zone over here at 1.34. But on the earth, look at how large this basing is. It's definitely, to me, this is not a set and forget trade where you have a entry, stop, and take profit. It's just too big of a zone. I don't really want to draw it any smaller because if I do, it just becomes kind of weird. So at this point, if you want to trade short in this 1-hour supply, you can. I would just wait for it to be hit and look for a confirmation on a 5-minute time frame. And what that means is essentially waiting for the higher time frame 1 hour zone to be hit, and then waiting for little 5-minute supply zones to be created to look for shorts off of. So that's what I'd be doing inside of this 1-hour supply. Again, it's too big of a zone for set and forget. And then also, if we remove that supply, any demand there is going to be a nice trading setup as well here on the GBPUSD. All right, moving on to the forecast for the USD CAD. Very interesting chart. A big change in direction here on the USD CAD, in my opinion. This is the country I am from, Canada. Let me know where you guys are from in the comments down below, and maybe some of you guys can connect with each other. I think that'd be great. So let me know in the comments down below where you guys are located. There's still 20 minutes left in this weekly candle, but I'm going to go ahead and call this weekly supply, or sorry, this weekly upper trend line removed. And the supply zone is there. At 1.40. Not my favorite zone. You could actually probably draw it just a little bit bigger. I think right there would actually make more sense, in my opinion. I almost want to draw this zone above because that's kind of the origin of the move. I don't know. I'm gonna see what happens. I don't know. I'm gonna see later. But for now, that is the weekly supply that is created from removing this upper trend line. So it is definitely a bearish sign. However, if you look on the daily chart, we are so overextended here. I mean, overextended would be an understatement. Pretty much falling in a 90-degree angle here. So when we get a 90-degree drop like that, again, I don't just like saying, oh, we're due for a pullback, but I mean, come on, we are clearly due for a pullback here in the USD CAD. And there is evidence to suggest we are going to be getting that pullback. Why? Well, because we clearly have a nice 1 hour trend line here to the upside on the USD CAD. Not the greatest time to be getting along on this trend line since we're sitting right at the top. But if we do get some sort of pullback around here, I think looking for longs on a 5-minute chart could be reasonable. And the good thing about it is we have a very, very clear profit margin if we do decide to day trade long. That profit margin is to this 4-hour supply at 1.38. And just like the British pound, this 4-hour supply is so big. The basing is big, big wick. Honestly, I really don't love the supply zone. I personally have my eyes on the 2 supply zones above at 1.39 and above at 1.40. So that would be our better set and forget trade, and the ultimate one would be all the way up above. What's making me nervous is these zones are kind of old now, so I wouldn't mind to see some liquidity before the zone. It would give me a little bit more confidence. And then up for this one, I kind of want to see a reaction off of my resistance area first. That would give me more confidence in the trading setup as well. So I do prefer those zones above, but it doesn't mean the zone can't work. Again, a great rule, a great thing to say, and a great rule of thumb is sometimes the best zones can fail and sometimes the worst zones can work. So if you want to trade the zone, just like the pound, I think 5-minute time frame, or sorry, 15-minute time frame confirmation in there is going to be good. You could do it on a 5-minute chart as well. I think that's reasonable, but I personally think day trading in here is going to be much preferred because I don't know how big of a move we're going to get off this zone. We could get a move like this, but if you were to take the entire zone, if you just put the risk to reward tool here, look at this. Look at this. If we get a move, let's just say down to this point here, it's really only a 1.5 to 1. But let's say you get a little day trade in here, right? Tighter stop loss. That could turn into a 7 to 1. That little 1.5 move could turn into a 7 to 1 if you look for confirmation on the day trading time frame. So that's what I'd rather be doing in a wider zone like that. And then again, I'd rather be looking for these supply zones up here for these set and forget trades on the USD CAD. And like I said, 1 hour trend line holding. So as long as that continues to hold, 5-minute time frame longs are good. And then once we start to hit this 4-hour supply, then I'd probably look to wrap up the trade or at least take some profit off or bump your stop loss up to protect your position. And we are on to the forecast for the Aussie US dollar. I will say right away, this is not a great looking chart. I have no interest in trading this chart, but we'll go over it just for the sake of hopefully you guys can learn what not to look for when trading. So on the week, starting with the weekly, there's nothing going on here. I don't know where it's going, really no direction. I will admit that the momentum is up, but not really a great trend line. There's no trend line rather. On the daily time frame, we had a nice trend line that was removed, and now we went up at a 90-degree angle. So it is very tricky to determine what's going on the weekly and on the daily chart, which means if you're going to trade these time frames, the 1 hour and the 4 hour, or anything lower, we pretty much have to be aggressive with trade management because we don't really have a clear direction. Look at the 4-hour chart here. I mean, we're just not really creating any explosive moves. We do have a 4-hour demand zone down below at 0.64. It's really the only zone I'm seeing. It is an older zone though, so what I prefer to see is a support created, a reaction off of the support, then the pullback down to that demand. I think still aggressive trade management at that zone would be much preferred if we do get that move. So that's what I'd be waiting for on the Aussie is that 4-hour zone, and even then I'm really not too excited about it. The only thing we have really going for us here is this 1 hour chart. We have a nice 1 hour trend line to the downside. However, we are pretty overextended to the downside. But when you view it as a channel, it's not too bad. We are sitting right pretty much below the 50% mark of the channel. We peaked below it here. So if you want to trade in short, I personally think doing it up here could be a little bit better. And we kind of have, I guess you could call this liquidity up here. Kind of semi-new to liquidity. It's kind of something I've added this past year. But I think waiting for that to be hit, looking for shorts near the trend line, above the 50% mark of this channel, I think that would be preferred on the Aussie. And since we don't really have a clear direction on the higher time frames, if we do push up, breaking that 1 hour downward trend line, any 1 hour demand there is going to be the only setup I'm seeing. So that's what, as a swing trader that trades the 1 hour and the 4 hour charts and occasionally the daily, that's what I'll be waiting for. I don't day trade, so I won't be trading short this trend line. I'm just not a day trader. But for me personally, I'll be waiting for this trend line to be removed and hopefully creating a nice 1 hour zone for potential long trades. So the Aussie, not the best pair right now. I'd probably be trading the other pairs, but hopefully this all makes sense. And again, guys, any questions at all, don't hesitate to leave a comment. I'll literally respond to every comment that I see. Alrighty, on to the forecast for the USD Swiss. Very interesting chart here, as we just recently this past week, actually on Friday, removed this upward trend line on the daily time frame. And that has left us with a daily supply above, which is great. I love when we have daily supply zones. As a swing trader, I like to trade inside of daily supply on a 1 hour or even a 4 hour time frame. So I'm really welcoming a pullback up to the supply. I think it'd be a great opportunity to potentially get a swing trade. So I'm welcoming a pullback up to that supply. Nice basing, aggressive move away. I love it. So hoping to get a pullback up to that supply. Really not seeing any evidence of that taking place just yet. This 1 hour chart is just horrific. There's really nothing to go off of here. Look at this sideways price action. When I do this, it's extremely visible how sideways it is. And to me, that's just not a tradable chart based on the 1 hour chart. But we actually got a beautiful 4 hour supply zone short trade above. And there was like no drawdown from this trade. I'm personally out of this trade right now. I was telling the members it's kind of unclear where price is going. So I'm looking for a quick trade here, and I'm already out of this trade. I think we could even target this liquidity. So I think maybe I left a little bit of profit on the table, but that's fine. I know what I'm doing here, and I'm fine with it. And this trade, one of our members, Hermano, caught this trade as well. And this trade was called out ahead of time in the daily market breakdown video, as you can see on the screen right now, which is a forecast that I release every single day for the Diamond members. If you want to trade alongside myself and the members, join the Diamond membership, where you will have access to the 38-page supply and demand zone PDF, which will be your complete trading guide, the daily market breakdown videos, which are forecasts that I release every single night for the members to trade alongside myself, step-by-step video lessons A to Z covering everything you need to know on supply and demand trading, the Sunday strategy Zoom session where members submit homework, and it's an interactive 1 hour call where we go over all of your homework and every trading related question, private access to myself inside of our private Discord group where I answer all of your trading related questions, and finally the Sunday live stream forecast where we break down over 30 markets together. And it's not just me. Here are some of the members and some of their trades they've been taking lately, absolutely killing it. And we also have some amazing reviews from some of the past members sharing their experience within the group. So if you're ready to trade alongside myself and the community, join the Diamond membership today. Links in the description down below. So this 4 hour trade has already worked out. Our options now are these two options. We either get a pullback up to the supply again if we remove it. Since it's a proven supply zone, any 4 hour demand zone there is going to be a nice trading opportunity. That's one thing I will be watching out for. If we do target this liquidity down below, we have a pretty good 4 hour demand zone sitting down below at 0.78. That could be good for potential long trades as well. So these are really only two options left on the USD Swiss, and they're pretty good options in my opinion. I mean, beautiful move off of the zone. And look, we had a loss here and a loss there, but this has made up for it, right? That's the power of risk to reward there. On the USD Swiss. So I would be waiting for this 4 hour demand to be hit, or at this point, waiting for that 4 hour supply to be removed, hopefully leaving us with a 4 hour demand zone to be trading long at. Alrighty, on to the forecast for crude oil. Absolutely love this chart. It's been very good to me from that 1 hour supply zone short trade that I was talking about a week or two ago. And we just wicked below this liquidity here. I did sell most of the majority of my position from short trade based off of targeting that liquidity, and I'm glad I did because we got a pretty aggressive move out of it. But I still think we have a lot of downward move to go. At 53.85, we have a weekly demand sitting down below. I'll show you guys the zone. It's kind of an older zone, but it's a very powerful zone. The basing is very tight and clean, explosive move away. Not only that, we have our liquidity here. So I think it's a great opportunity for the swing trading longs if we do get a pullback to that weekly zone. On the daily chart here, beautiful daily downward trend line. And if we look at it as a channel, let's see where we are at. We are still sitting above the 50% mark. So I still think looking for shorts makes sense. I just wanted to sell the majority of my position because I was already up a lot and we targeted that liquidity, and that's why I sold most of my position. That trade was this 1 hour supply zone from back here. It's been perfect. It's been a great way to pretty much end the year here. No complaints from me. And that trade was called out in the daily market breakdown. So just saying. The 1 hour supply zone here, we created another 1 hour supply. So we could be looking for shorts right now. 1 hour supply is in control. If you are a day trader, so this trade's like the limit order has already taken place. If you're a day trader, you could be looking for 5-minute time frame shorts as long as this 1 hour supply zone is being respected. I think it's completely reasonable here, guys, because of the fact that we have not only a weekly liquidity and a very clear target to the downside, but also because we have that clean daily downward trend line as well. And look, it's even possible that we do push up, break this supply. We have another resistance area over here. I'd like to see a reaction off this resistance to prove its resistance. Stop losses are going to be above, right into our 1 hour supply zone where we can get a very nice move to the downside at 57.95. So a couple 1 hour zones here I think could definitely be good on crude oil. And look, another option is, let's say we remove this supply. Any demand there is going to be good for a potential long trade with clear profit margin as well. It is going to be counter trend, but it is an option, and that is something you could be waiting for. Me personally, I prefer the shorts, whether you want to look for shorts on a 5-minute time frame in the supply, or you want to wait for the 1 hour supply zone that is above here on crude oil. Alrighty, on to Bitcoin weekly chart. Absolutely love the weekly chart of Bitcoin. I'm not really a believer in Bitcoin long term. Doesn't mean we can't take some nice trades. The issue right now is we are sitting between, or right in the middle rather, of supply and demand. But you notice we have a very clear area of support down below that's going to act as liquidity before this weekly demand at 71,000. I think it's a great opportunity to look for swing trading longs. Dotted lines show monthly demand down here as well. So I think we will be going to the downside. I think that's where we could be headed on Bitcoin. So as far as trading it goes, how do we go about and trade it? Well, another reason that I think we will be going down is because we have a pretty clean daily downward trend line. The channel view here shows that we are at a good point to continue to look for shorts as we are sitting above that 50% line. So I think looking for shorts is definitely a decent opportunity. 4 hour chart though, it's just kind of tough. Really whippy here. I don't know what's going on. A little bit tricky to be trading this chart right now. I don't even want to draw a trend line. It's just so whippy and confusing right now. The good news is we have a couple 4 hour supply zones above. The better supply is actually above. I'll show you guys in a second. But the near term one is actually at 92,314. I personally think if we do push up, the better supplies at 94,764, which I'll show you in a second. So if you want to trade short at the zone, I think looking for day trades in there would be better, or just being a very aggressive trade management, meaning looking for a 1-to-1, maybe a 2-to-1, moving your stop to half risk, and then to break even as quick as possible. If we do get a small move, I think would be kind of the safer play if I'm being honest. But above, we have that better 4 hour supply at 94,764. So that would be the ultimate pullback on Bitcoin that I think we could see the bigger move off of, targeting that liquidity. That's the better zone on Bitcoin. And if you guys don't mind, check me out on Instagram at FX Telepath. Send me a message, say hello, what's up, appreciate the forecast, whatever. And I do post stories there and that you guys might find useful as well. So as far as Bitcoin goes, nice 4 hour supply zone above. There's one here as well. I think aggressive trade management in there could be good. And that's really all I'm seeing right now on Bitcoin. If you guys want access to my full-length forecast, join the Diamond membership where you will have access to that, as well as my daily market forecast, the full course supply and demand PDF, and much, much more. Make sure you guys subscribe so you can catch next week's forecast as well. And I always appreciate a like. Thank you guys, and I'll see you in the next video.